Welcome back to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. As always, here I'm your host, Calvin Glen Alexander. And on this episode of the podcast, Dell's a little bit different, but we got a March Madness preview / selection show. So we got Jay Carlson, Alexi, Bollwerk, frequent guest fans of the show, here joining to basically go through and fill out, quote unquote, the CGA Tour bracket. So if you join in with any other group, this is the CGA Tour bracket that you can follow along with. If you end up joining with us as well. With that being said, any big, strong takeaways here we want to talk about before we really kind of dive in?
Oh boy, where do we start? Couple teams in the tournament that probably shouldn't be in the tournament. I think are we all under that kind of consensus?
Definitely.
I never want to say let's put OU in. I never want to be out there with that information. So I'm not going to say put OU in, but there's a couple of teams, including Michigan and some others, that I'm very curious about. Also, I just learned today, Houston won quad one win that they got last week. Won. And of course they're a fifth seed, so they deserve to be in, but still, nonetheless.
Well, I think my favorite part is like the hypocrisy in all of it, because did I send you guys that Lenardi video where he tried to justify like Tennessee being a 3 seed and Kentucky being a 2? And
maybe not.
He basically had like, he's like, well, I don't know. He's like, basically I've just crunched all the numbers and Kentucky's just 20% better than Tennessee. And I'm like, I don't really know what that means. I don't understand how we put percentages on one team being better than the other. But what I do know is Tennessee won the SEC. Michigan lost in the first round. And Indiana had to win and get as far as they did to make the tournament. And the way that the committee frames it is that like, oh, well, the conference tournament only matters if you win. But it only matters if you win if you weren't going to get in the first place.
Yep.
But then if you win some games, you can help your case. So like, it really just doesn't make any sense how I've seen a lot of people like on Twitter recently saying like, what's the point of the tournament? Why even play like an SEC tournament? Why even play an ACC tournament if you already have the teams that you know you're going to get in? Because like a Michigan, I don't care what their strength of schedule is. I don't care what their net is. If you watch them play, they suck. And like when Michigan loses to Indiana and Oklahoma, for example, like you were saying, beats Baylor, but then we're like, oh, well, Michigan's already in, so it doesn't matter. And I watched a lot of college basketball this year. I know you guys watched a lot of college basketball this year. There was only one basketball game this year where Michigan looked like a tournament team. One. And it was when they blew out Purdue because they shot like 80% from 3, which is clearly a fluke.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway is just how much respect the Big Ten continues to get. And that's really, really annoying to me. Like Michigan goes in, loses first round of the Big Ten tournament, gets in, no problem. Didn't even have to play a last 4 in. I'm going to compare it to A&M, okay? A&M didn't even belong, but look what they did at the end of the season, and look what they did in the SEC tournament. Yeah. You're going to tell me that beating Auburn, a number 2 seed, beating Arkansas, a number 4 seed, and then losing to Tennessee, a really good Tennessee team, in the championship game, that you're going to say they don't deserve to be in over Michigan and some of these other teams? I mean, yeah, you're saying these tournaments matter, but at the end of the day, you're saying they also don't matter.
Right.
So I was very surprised that A&M didn't get in, especially over Michigan. I mean, Michigan, they didn't deserve to get in, 17-14. And I was talking to my friends about this. If they didn't let Oklahoma State in, I think it was 3-4 years ago, when we were 19-14, swept Kansas that year, had a couple other good wins, 19-14 in the tough Big 12. They didn't let us in that year, and it was crazy. They let OU in, whatever. And they're saying that team wasn't good enough, but this Michigan team was. It's a joke. It's all about who's on the front of the jersey.
Yeah, there's just like a massive lack of consistency, and I'm glad you brought up A&M. And again, not the three guys that you would talk to sit here and defend Oklahoma and Texas A&M, but here we are. So it's like, so you're telling me that A&M makes it all the way to the championship, beats 2 top 4 seeds on their way there, loses in the SEC championship. Now, mind you, having to play more games than Tennessee just in general. So I want to factor that. I mean, they played 4 games in 5 days? Is that what it was?
Yep.
So they're playing 4 games in 5 days. And I'm a Tennessee fan. My brothers go to Tennessee. So I'm playing devil's advocate. Texas A&M finished the year, what was it, 23-11, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, 23-12, but yeah.
23-12. And that 12th loss comes in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan finished 17-15. And as we know, the SEC hasn't gotten worse as of late.
No.
Just in general. They're not Big Ten level. But even Tate Frazier said today, he said he thought the SEC was the best basketball conference in the country this year. And I would say that's probably somebody that knows more than us. So if he says it, if there is a 23-win team from the SEC, again, you can tell me the net, you can tell me all these ridiculous statistics, but if you don't watch the game, then what's the point? Like, what's the point of looking at all these statistics? Like, again, there was no part in this season to me that Michigan looked like they were an NCAA tournament team. There were parts in this season that Oklahoma looked like an NCAA tournament team, and Texas A&M looked like an NCAA tournament team for this last week.
And my biggest thing, and that to go off of the way Michigan got in, I was thinking that Michigan-Indiana game was a total, like, if you win, you got a shot to get in maybe, but if you lose, you're out. And I think that's how it should have been. Indiana versus Michigan, loser doesn't make the tournament. You can't win one game in the Big Ten tournament. You haven't been good enough all season. Why give credit to a team who lost in the Big Ten tournament? So yeah, I think that should have been a play-out game, and unfortunately it wasn't. Now we get to see both Indiana and Michigan for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, and the best part is they match up Michigan. Now, granted, Colorado State is good, but like, seriously? Yeah. Like, it seems just like very favorable matchups for them.
Yeah.
But Juwan Howard's back coaching, so I might be choosing Colorado State. We'll have to see.
Who gives a rat's ass?
Oh, I'll be definitely rooting against all Big Ten teams. Like, I'll be rooting for Colorado State hardcore. I hope they beat them so bad.
But are you picking them? So I guess we can go ahead and get to that part here of the show. So NCAA brackets, if you haven't already checked it out on ESPN, then you know how we're going through this. So we're going to go through region by region, and basically we'll just go through first the round of 64. Or as you can see, I already took Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga's got a chance to beat Georgia State. Is there any 16-1 upset? We'll see, but we'll get to it in a second. All right, so after Gonzaga, Georgia State, right? I'm not going to pick this isn't UMBC beating Virginia, I don't think, this year. So with that being said, Boise State, Memphis. What do you guys feeling here?
I've got Boise State. I think Penny Hardaway's a bad coach. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I'll take the better defense for sure.
Yep.
Better defense.
Is Jalen Duren playing?
Probably, I would think. I haven't heard he's out.
He got hurt in the tournament.
Let's see.
In the AAC tournament.
I'm gonna pull it up and see if there's any notes about him here. Looks like I don't see anything about it on here. So looks like he should be okay. Yeah, I'd go Boise
this line
too.
Here at the end. Yeah, this line here at the end. Memphis won't blow anyone out, but Memphis is hot at the right time. That to me just screams like, okay, you know what? Let's just go Boise State. If the public is favoring Memphis, nah, I'm not about it. Not about it.
Yeah.
All right. So every year I always hold myself to picking only 12 over 5 upsets. And I got to say, right here, we've got UConn versus New Mexico State. It's hard for me to want to pick a non-blue blood, a New Mexico State team that I know almost nothing about over UConn. And I got to say, I do want to pick UConn this year. I do want to pick this. It's just chalk. Just chalk this game.
I'm with UConn.
Yeah, I'd go UConn here. I think they them losing last year first round will give them a little bit more momentum to get that win this year against New Mexico State.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Arkansas, Vermont. Jake, I know you're a Titus and Tate fan. I don't know if you heard their bracket breakdown or so.
I did.
They were both favoring Vermont here, thinking Arkansas is just looking a game ahead already. I kind of agree, I got to say. I just think Arkansas is a little overrated. But then again, I don't know. Vermont's won a ton of games. Vermont's 28-5. Last year we saw Oklahoma State play, of course, Liberty in the very first matchup, and that was a big all right, who is Liberty? But then it was, Liberty plays extremely good defense for them, and Vermont kind of does the same thing. They hold their opponents to basically 15 points a game less than they score in a game. So
yeah, and I actually picked Vermont in my bracket. The thing with Arkansas, and we'll get to Alabama later. The thing with Arkansas is they shoot a lot. Just shoot. That's what they do. Them, Alabama, who we'll talk about next game, Auburn, they pick up the basketball and go play. And some days that's really good. Some days it's really bad. But, I mean, we've seen teams like this, and it's not always conducive to being successful in the tournament when you do have to go play one of these mid-majors who is basically going to be out there running the triple option and just hold on to the ball for a long period of time.
Also, Vermont, 5 senior starters, too.
Jeez.
That screams a Vermont pick for me, at least, but I'm not dead set on it.
Come tournament time, seniors on mid majors are always, you gotta look at that. It could be a huge advantage. And yeah, this is a tricky one. I've been going back and forth a lot because I have heard a lot about how good Vermont is, and Arkansas, I've seen them play in a lot of close games this year. I have watched Arkansas. They are very they shoot a lot, like Jake was saying. And if they have an off shooting night, man, this could be a long one for them. So I think it will be close. If I had to pick, I'd go Arkansas, but I think it will be a close game.
All right, well, I'm taking Vermont. At the end of the day, I'm going to say I'm the tiebreaker just because it is my bracket, so I'm going to pick Vermont here over Arkansas. I'm sure it'll backfire me. All right, anyways, trying to jinx and unjinx myself here as we go throughout the podcast on these picks, I got to say. All right, the next one we have is Alabama versus the play-in of Rutgers and Notre Dame. I don't know. I think it's a toss-up. Notre Dame, Rutgers, I'm not really dead set on either of those two teams being great. But then again, Alabama, they had Moses Moody, but that was last year. They had a bunch of other just stuff going with them last year. Yep. I don't know if I'm feeling it this year, to be honest.
Man, Alabama, to me, and I was hoping they were going to get somebody else. I hate that they got Rutgers for Notre Dame. That really makes me mad. But I think Alabama is one of the most fraudulent teams in this tournament. They shoot way too many threes. Have you guys seen the point attempts they have? I mean, it's ridiculous. And their coach just never adjusts. You literally just say, stop shooting threes. Take 10 a game. That's all you got to do. And they just, I don't know. Alabama, I can't see them doing anything. If they win this first game, I wouldn't be surprised because I don't think it should be tough for them, but you never know. But yeah, I think Alabama are total frauds. I don't like anything about them, to be honest.
Yeah, well, the weird thing, I picked literally the other two. I don't care who it is. But again, they just shoot all the time. And it's a lot of really bad shots. Awful. They're not good shots. They're horrible shots.
Yep.
and they're reliant on 3-pointers and fast break. And again, when you play a team that, probably doesn't turn the ball over as much as you would like, because as we know, like, these teams play differently. Also, Notre Dame was the 2 seed in the ACC tournament. And they're in a play-in game. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah. I can't believe that, especially over Michigan. Like, they're playing in the last 4 game, and Michigan's playing without even have to worry about that. I don't get it.
Just throwing that out there. Yeah, I mean, Alabama is either going to lose the first round or end up in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at with them.
I only bet Bama in football, and so I'm taking Rutgers Notre Dame here. That's all. That's all I can say at this point. I mean, ESPN literally, their stat line for Alabama here, like their information is that Alabama is only 30% from deep, and that's entirely volume based. So it just backs up exactly what you guys are saying. It's it's no new info, but that's not sugarcoating it in any way.
No.
And when ESPN doesn't sugarcoat something, I'm willing to take the team that they're saying to pick. So
all right,
I think that's
Texas
a Rutgers Notre Dame.
Texas Tech, and we're good.
Yeah, Texas Tech. No doubt. We don't need to go over that one.
I don't even want to make a bet. If Montana State beats Texas Tech, sky's falling down and the world's over.
Exactly.
Texas Tech is the best defense in the country, and they're pretty good. We can beat them, but Montana State can't. All right, Michigan State Davidson. Man, I am not a Sparty fan any day of the week ever, but I know nothing about this Davidson team. Oh, come on. Oh, gosh. Living in Michigan, it was like choose U of M or choose Michigan State. And real early on, I was like, oh, this is my chance to choose a non-state school to root for. I'm going to choose the non-state school to root for. And it has backfired literally every single chance I've gotten since then, except for Michigan this year in football. So, and I don't care anymore. I don't live in Michigan anymore.
This game's a coin flip. To me.
I don't know anything about Davidson. That's the thing.
Yeah,
they're good. I mean,
they're pretty solid. Yeah,
they're always pretty good.
I saw them play over the weekend. I was just trying to get an idea of how they played because I hadn't really seen much of them. But yeah, they played SLU on Saturday, handled them, and then I think weren't they winning? I didn't see the game against Richmond, but weren't they winning for most of it? And then Richmond kind of made a comeback.
Yeah, Richmond had like a buzzer beater. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, Davidson's pretty good. I mean, they run an offense. I mean, they play pretty smart. I mean, I think it was coin flip too. I could see it going either way. If I had to pick, I'd go Davidson. But yeah, could see it going either way.
The BPI rank is not hugely off either. It's 28 spots, but that's not the end of the world when there's 300 teams.
I picked Michigan State just because I picked them to beat Duke next round.
Oh.
Nice.
Well, so Alexi, you're saying Davidson, Jake's saying Michigan State. I've never picked Sparty. I'm not going to start doing it now. Sorry, Jake. All right. Duke, CSU, Fulton. Should I choose the Cal State? I currently live in the state of California. Or
go for it.
Is Mike Krzyzewski just going to win all the way until the Final Four this year? I mean,
they might be blowing whistles all the way to the Final Four. Just pick Duke. It's fine.
Yeah,
Duke moving on. All right.
Should we run over through each quarter? I was going to say, should we run through each quarter of the bracket and then so that way our Final Four gets established?
That sounds good. I'm all for that. So today we're picking the whole bracket here, but we'll do it that way. All right. Gonzaga, Boise State. Zags. They're the new fine. Duke. It just is what it is. UConn, Vermont.
I chose Vermont, but
whoa. Alexi?
There's always one.
If they do it, if they can beat UConn, or I'm sorry, if they can beat Arkansas, they'll definitely have that momentum and riding into that game. I don't think UConn's anything like better than Arkansas is. I think they're somewhat even in ways. So yeah, I mean, I could see it. I could definitely see it.
All right. You know what? The West region, we're out. Is this the West region? Yeah, we're out there in the West region. We're far out there, but you know what? I'm fine with it. All right. Rutgers, Notre Dame, or Texas Tech. This has got to be Tech, right?
Yeah.
Tech beats Montana State. Tech can win again. You got the kid O'Bannon who was on RRU last year, made all the way to Sweet 16. I'm picking Tech. And then Duke versus Davidson. I mean, just Duke, Blue Devils. I know Jake didn't have him, but I mean,
Duke.
I don't feel great about it, but I'm trying to win. All right, Gonzaga, Vermont, Zags,
Gonzaga. Yeah.
and then Texas Tech, Duke. I'm taking Tech. I don't.
If I actually think about this, I would also take Tech, and I think Tech would literally just piss off Duke the whole time.
I would love that. If that happens, I hope they kill them. That'd be awesome.
I gotta say, if Krzyzewski loses the game at home, his team's senior night, where we're gonna talk about Coach K before the game, after the game, during the game, and literally every single other second through the rest of the week and the week after.
So stupid.
And they still lose North Carolina? I mean, all I'm saying is, there's a lot in that game. All those Duke players knew there was a lot in that game. They have a top 5 lottery pick. They have probably 2 top 15 picks overall in the draft, and they still didn't beat North Carolina at home senior night. Taking Tech. After that, though, man, I'm just going to take Zags. Moses Cisse, 8 up, Texas Tech. I feel like Chet Holmgren is not anything at all comparatively to Moses Cisse, except for on height alone. And Chet Holmgren's averaging 4 blocks a game. Moses Cisse averages a ton of blocks a game. That's the comparison I'm drawing here. So I'm taking the Zags for the number, in the Final Four.
Yep.
All right. Eastern region. Baylor over Norfolk State.
I'll go Baylor.
Disagreements? All right. Then, of course, you've got North Carolina and Marquette. Fun fact here, Jake probably already knows this, but Marquette and Shaka Smart are back playing in the state of Texas. At least Shaka Smart is. I don't think that helps him at all, though, anyway. I'm willing to take the Tar Heels, but also want to hear what you guys think.
I have North Carolina. Just I don't really that game is like one that you just don't really think about to me.
They're playing really well lately too, so I think they're riding in with some momentum, and I don't see anything special in Marquette, to be honest.
Sounds good. All right, St. Mary's versus the play-in of Wyoming versus Indiana. I think Indiana wins the play-in game because this game is in, I believe, Ohio, which is right next door, and Wyoming has to fly out and travel all the way there to go see Indiana. I feel like excuse me. I feel like it might be almost a home game for Indiana there in the play-in, at least.
This is like one of the play-in ifs for me. I think if Indiana wins, then they beat St. Mary's. But I think if Wyoming wins, then St. Mary's wins.
That's fair.
I don't know. I mean, Indiana shouldn't be in the tournament either, to be honest. They're nothing spectacular, in my opinion. Illinois literally gave them the game. Mm-hmm. So
I could see it either way. I mean, St. Mary's is good defensively. They'll have that advantage, of course, so I heard this today, actually, the Wyoming and Indiana game. So they're playing tonight, 9 Eastern. Probably won't be done and out of there till at least midnight. So then they'll have to fly to Portland. That's where that next game would be. So a lot of travel if one of those teams has to go over there and play St. Mary's might be advantage St. Mary's, but it's a tricky one. I mean, I've seen Wyoming, they look solid at times. Indiana again shouldn't be in it as a Big Ten team, but I think St. Mary's might have the edge there, having that extra rest.
All right, I'm feeling better about St. Mary's after the travel involvement here works out. I think Indiana beats Wyoming, of course, but then I'm picking St. Mary's. St. Mary's has got to feel well rested. Rest versus rust. I'm going to take St. Mary's as rest here. UCLA versus Akron. I just want to say go Bruins and just move on, but I don't know anything about Akron. Haven't looked at them whatsoever here. What are you guys thinking?
I mean, I'd probably go UCLA.
But you didn't in your own brackets?
I did go UCLA in my
Okay.
own bracket.
Yeah.
But I'm not confident on this UCLA team. I know last year's UCLA team was like a 11 seed or whatever it was.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
Yeah.
all things considered, this UCLA team has been like supremely underwhelming. And you can probably attest to that, Calvin.
I have a question about that. So I agree. I think what UCLA did last year, and then coming into this year, having pretty much everyone return, you're like, okay, UCLA should be like a 1, 2, 3 seed, like easily, like no problem. So I'm just curious, Jake, what do you feel like has been like the most surprising thing about them of why they've like underperformed? Like, what have you seen? Because I know you watch a lot of college basketball.
Well, Juzang isn't Juzang.
Yeah.
I think like especially obviously the guy we saw in the tournament. I don't think anybody was expecting him to come out and be able to do that for 30 plus games, but you didn't even get it for 4. Like he's just kind of been there. Jaquez literally looks like he can't run down the court, which doesn't help. And I don't know, it almost seems like they lost their swagger.
Yeah.
Like just in general, like they're just kind of like lackluster, I guess.
There were some games I watched them and like just they're how they look on offense. Like they at times they act like they don't know what they're doing. I don't know if you've noticed anything like that, but I just like there's a game, I don't know what game I was watching, but it was one of those Pac-12 games, and they just looked so unorganized and totally like I don't know. It was weird. I expected them to be a lot better this year for sure.
The only guy
I thought the Riley kid last year was the clutch dude, like their center power forward kind of guy who plays five spot.
Yeah.
I thought he was just so clutch last year. Like he wasn't one of the star guys, he wasn't whatever, but he would just grab a clutch rebound or a clutch play or diving out of bounds, whatever. And I've watched too many UCLA games this year to count. I watched them play Arizona each time. If they get in hole, they're not coming back. And they're just not coming back. They don't have whatever magic they had last year. Someone needs to hit. I think it was Juzang in like the leg. I think he injured his leg in the playing game. And I don't know what adrenaline he was able to recoup for 2 more weekends, but that's got to happen again. And I just don't. I feel like they're all just kind of like waiting for the tournament. They know that's all that really matters, and they're just kind of sitting around whatever, knowing their draft stock depends on the tournament, and they could help or hurt themselves. But I haven't seen the switch flip yet, so I'm nervous about picking UCLA even against Akron, to be honest.
All right, Virginia Tech.
But I picked UCLA. All right, Virginia Tech. Moving on, right?
Yeah.
Don't want to talk about
Virginia Tech.
Totally different teams going in different directions. I'll go Virginia Tech 100%.
So I'm assuming I'll do another podcast here about March Madness. I'll get my roommate Patrick, who went to UT, on as well. Listen, Pat, love you, man, but that 20-point lead you guys had in the Big 12 tournament that you lost, and then that's the last game you guys played. But you've also just lost a weird amount of games. It just, you guys said it perfectly. They're just two teams in completely opposite directions. I'm picking for Virginia Tech. Didn't they just win the ACC tournament, right? So
they beat Duke and North Carolina handily. Like they really weren't. Yeah.
And for the record,
I feel like, Virginia Tech should be like an 8-9 seed easily, but
I actually heard people saying that they should have probably been higher.
That I had a good point. You're saying that I had a good point.
And right, not to toot my own horn, but go back to our Big 12 preseason podcast and see how I projected Texas to not be good this year. Because they came out, they were like preseason number 6 in the country.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was like, well, that's not right. I don't know what basketball these guys are watching, but Lands of Misfit Toys doesn't work in college basketball.
No. Mark my words here. If Texas beats Virginia Tech, it's because Brock Cunningham had almost a career high in points. or a career high. That's the only way.
He drew
That's the
4
only way.
charges.
Right. Yeah. Texas could pull one Brock Cunningham game out of their ass and just win, which I'll get to TCU in a second because I have one of their players noted as well. But Brock Cunningham wasn't saving them for a lot of games I watched earlier this year. So Virginia Tech, Hokies moving on. Also, Purdue, Jaden Ivey. I mean, I know they're just kind of out there playing ball, but I don't know. Jake, you turned me on to Jaden Ivey a little bit earlier this year, actually about almost a month ago or so. Been watching a lot of highlights of him. Really hope the Thunder pick him just because I think he'd fit well with the whole team, even though they don't need another guard, whatever. I'm big in Purdue. I feel like Yale just isn't the same class of team. Purdue has all the athletes and all the athleticism. Now, anything can happen in 40 minutes. Fouls can happen, etc. This could be an upset, but when one team has a top 5 lottery pick and the other team is, well, playing in the Ivy League, I'm willing to take the athlete.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Murray State, San Francisco. John Morant or
Bill Russell?
Yeah, Bill Russell. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Murray State. This is another one I had a problem with. I had a problem with San Francisco being in. I don't get why they were in, and if they were going to be in, why they weren't a last 4 team in. I don't see anything on their schedule where they won more than one signature game. So I don't see why San Francisco's even in it, to be honest. Just my opinion. I don't see why at all.
Murray State didn't even lose a game in conference, and their points per game are close to 80. Yeah, Murray State moving on, right, Jake? Or
give me
I
Murray.
have Murray State. Yeah.
All right, Kentucky versus St. Peter's. Are we seeing an ORU Ohio State upset here at all? Maybe the 2-15 seed in another region, but I don't see Kentucky losing.
Not this one.
Nah, Kentucky's got it.
All right, from there we'll just work our way back up. Kentucky, Murray State,
Kentucky.
Purdue, Virginia Tech.
Purdue.
Boilermakers. A lot of Hokies.
I have Purdue.
I go Purdue, but I could see Virginia Tech hanging around for a while, but I got Purdue.
Yeah.
St. Mary's, UCLA. I got to say, if Indiana ends up getting here, I think Indiana beats UCLA. If if this isn't right, but I also don't think UCLA wins this game either. I'm saying St. Mary's, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything good out of UCLA.
I actually picked UCLA in this game. Just like better players. That's kind of what I came down to in this one.
Yeah, it's a close one. Tough one.
Yeah.
Tough. I think it could be a coin flip for sure. But I would lean UCLA personally.
All right, both of you guys lean UCLA. I'm not going to go against the college basketball experts here. All right, Baylor, North Carolina. Baylor would move on, I guess. UNC might give them a little bit of a game, but I'm picking Baylor there.
I think that one's actually like decently close, just because Baylor has injuries.
Yeah.
And I don't know who on their team is going to guard Armando Bacot.
Dude, that guy is. Yeah.
I don't know
who's glad he no longer wears his hair like a narwhal horn anymore. Yeah. I'm just really glad he no longer does that with his hairstyle.
I don't know who's going to stop him on Baylor, but I don't know if that's enough to beat them. Like I picked Baylor, but it also like wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of crapped this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is an early like Baylor out, so we'll see that right now. Actually, Baylor UCLA. It's hard for me to pick against Baylor because they won the whole thing last year, but they also had 3 guys and 2 guys get drafted last year off that Baylor team, and I like Scott Drew, but I don't love Scott Drew. If OSU can beat Baylor at Baylor, like I don't know. I don't think we were anything like super special this year in basketball. So when we're able to beat one of these teams at their place, I don't want to pick them. But I also didn't want to pick UCLA this far. But this is tough.
I think Baylor would be more likely to lose to North Carolina than they would be to UCLA.
Yeah. This may be a Purdue, Kentucky situation here. But if Baylor gets more guys back from injury here as we get farther along in a couple weeks, because March Madness is a month.
Yeah.
It could be a huge deal. All right, Kentucky, Purdue. I want to go with my gut and say Purdue, but that's only because I really like Jaden Ivey a lot. And when I look at the points per game, like opponents' points per game, about the same. Both teams are literally scoring basically the exact same points per game. In conference, they're about the same. I just think, Jake, I think Kentucky's faced tougher opponents. Alexi, maybe you can be the tiebreaker here.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of both. Kentucky has looked really impressive. Purdue, I don't know. They seem like a team who can click, and then they seem like they can be a team that just falls apart. Like I watched them play against Michigan. They looked awful that game at Michigan. I saw them play at home the last game against Indiana. They didn't look that great. I don't know. I'm not too high on Purdue as maybe some others are. From what I've seen overall throughout the season, I would lean Kentucky here.
All right, I'm not going to let my Jaden Ivey affection get the best of me. I'm taking Kentucky.
The thing with that is like also the one thing that stops Oscar Tshiebwe is not what Purdue has.
Yeah.
Athleticism stops Oscar Tshiebwe, and Purdue's bigs are the opposite.
Zach Edey looks like he hates the game of basketball every day. That dude is 7'5", and I know this is not an original take, but he doesn't look like he's a basketball player.
Will calls him a tree that sprouted legs.
And arms. Yeah.
I don't know about arms.
In this situation, I'm just gonna take Kentucky. I don't trust Baylor here. I mean, how many times do we see back-to-back Final Four teams that not championship winners, etc.? So that's Kentucky. All right, moving over here to the South. All right, we've got Arizona versus the play-in game, which this is not the play-in game currently happening as we record this on Tuesday at 5:14 Mountain Standard Time, or 5:14 Pacific Time. Not that it matters, but I'm taking Zona. Let's talk a little about Seton Hall and TCU. TCU is one of my least favorite teams to watch ever play basketball because it doesn't make sense how they win games. It just does not. They throw up shots. They randomly go in. They are able to go 20 seconds past the whistle for a lot of different inbounds, different plays. So is K-State. Shout out to Big 12 refs there. But I'll say it this way. Seton Hall, I don't like picking Seton Hall. I don't like picking a lot of Big East teams. I don't know if we've picked one already yet. I think we did because we picked UConn, but I just don't love picking Big East teams. And I think TCU could pull this one out, but I'm willing to be persuaded.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off you. I don't know how TCU has won some of the games they've won because I watched a lot and I'm like, they don't even look that good. Like they're really not that great, but they have looked pretty solid down the stretch. They beat Kansas once. They came back and won against Texas. So I think TCU, I like the way they seem to get it done, even though I don't actually like the style of play. But yeah, I'd go with TCU and I'll root for the Big 12 there.
Yeah, I didn't think this one too much. I chose TCU.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not choosing TCU really after this game. So anyways, I'll be okay with it. UAB Houston. I already let it on earlier here. Houston won Q1 victory the whole season, I think. And they play some really, really good defense. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I haven't picked a 5-12 upset yet. So
watch out for Jordan Walker. He's a stud for UAB. Averages 20 a game, and he averaged 30 a game in the tournament. Basically led them to it in the Conference USA. Is that what they are? Conference USA. So yeah, I like UAB here. I think they can pull the upset. At least keep it close. I think UAB. That's who I would take.
Jake, what are you thinking here?
I'm pretty with that. This is you guys are probably going to be surprised. This is my my token 12-13 matchup.
Ooh.
I have the Mocs beating Illinois. Sorry,
I like
Dad.
it. I like it.
You have Chattanooga beating Illinois. Kofi
do.
Coburn can't hold up to the
I
pressure.
love that.
Okay,
yes.
so I actually have. I was remembering what my rationale is, but I have it. Does anybody happen to know who UTC's big man is?
D'Souza, right?
It
Or
is
D'Souza?
Silvio D'Souza from Kansas.
Yep.
Wait, that's the guy who got suspended then transferred,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
he's a great player. Yeah.
He's good. And so I think that's my one thing, because when you think about
That's
Illinois, you
huge.
think about Kofi Coburn. Like,
Mhm.
that's it. Well, if you watch them, you don't. But, like, most people, you think about Kofi Coburn and then everybody
Right.
else.
Yep.
But, like, if you watched Illinois against Indiana, they legitimately beat themselves. And ironically, my dad brought this up. Again, big Illinois fan. He said, sometimes I just don't think we have an offense. And I was like, interesting. Don't know where I've heard that before. Couldn't be our team now, but regardless, that Brad Underwood tree seems to have some offensive lapses sometimes. So that is why I'm going with UTC.
Chattanooga. Yeah.
I was reading something earlier and I can't find it. I wish I could, but I was listening to something. I was listening to a college basketball March Madness preview, and they were saying how much Andre Cabello hurts Illinois when he's on the floor and when he plays in games. Like, it was crazy. Like, when he doesn't play, because he was out for a while this year, there were something like, I don't know, like 13-0, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm exact. And then, like, when he does play and plays like over 20, some amount of minutes, they're like really bad. So just something to throw out there.
Good. He was really good last year too, which is it's bizarre.
It is bizarre, but I do like that. I like it even more because Brad Underwood coaches there, so I hope they lose first round again. I mean, how could anyone not be excited about that as an OSU fan? But yeah, go Chattanooga. I'll be rooting for them hardcore. Knock them out, please. Brad Underwood. Maybe Brad Underwood will be on the flight to Manhattan, Kansas the next day for a K-State job.
There you go.
Hot take.
Because he just misses the Big 12 so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colorado State, Michigan. Can we just Colorado State moving on? I don't know.
I have Colorado State.
I'm not picking Michigan. I don't care how much they're favored. I'll root so hard against Michigan.
Tennessee.
I don't like picking it anymore. I want to get away from my old self as much as possible, and my old self would have picked Michigan. So, but I don't live in Michigan anymore. I've changed. I'm a better person.
Yeah, screw them.
I can. All right. Tennessee, Longwood, Tennessee.
Do you guys want my Tennessee rant really quickly?
Oh, well, save it for the Colorado State Tennessee match, unless it's about unless it's about Longwood, which I did not know Longwood was a university. No. Someone could have listed like 10 things on a list and said, "I'll give you $1 million if you can figure out which one is university within 3 minutes." I wouldn't have even Googled Longwood in this situation. I would have just been like, "Well, that one's not it." And I would have Googled a bunch of the 9 other names on the list, and then I'd been like, "You've got to be kidding me." So Longwood, shout out to making the tournament, but the buck stops here. Ohio State, Loyola Chicago. Oh, man. This is tough because I don't want to pick Loyola Chicago because they had so much success last year. I don't think the success necessarily carries over year to year. Like, I was very tentative about the UCLA, if you've been listening so far. But I don't know. Are you believing Ohio State hype? Yeah.
I like Loyola. I like the way they play. Pretty good defensively. They have one of the conference defensive players of the year. I've watched Ohio State. I just don't trust them. Another team who I think is just overrated. I'm not touching them.
EJ Liddell could have 30 and 15 and they'd lose by 20.
Yeah.
Like, that's Ohio State. Like, he could score 30 points and Ohio State would score 50 as a team. Because he is the only he's the only player on that team to me that's, I mean, they're all better than me, but he's the one guy that I'm like, okay, he's really good, but it's like if Zach Randolph were super athletic.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say here's another thing to add on of why I don't like Ohio State, and maybe kind of a comparison to Texas and how Texas was going into the tournament. Ohio State has lost 4 of their last 5 games. I think it's like another 2 teams going in different directions.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Sister Jean will be courtside in Pittsburgh for this game. She's 102 years old. Sister Jean was born in 1919. I'm just going to say, I've been listening to you guys, but I read some about Sister Jean. I know way too much Sister Jean information, but Little Chicago and the Sister Jean, right on. No Porter Mosier. We know where he's at, but I'll pick
Something
Little
else
Chicago.
to add about Ohio State really quick. They were at home and lost to last place Nebraska. So just another awful loss toward the end of the season. So, yeah, I'm fading them 100%. I'll go Loyola.
All right. Nova, Delaware, just Nova, and then we're moving on.
Yeah, I mean, I have Nova in this game. This is probably the game that's second on my 215 upset ranking. If it were to happen, this is my second. And obviously, I haven't said any of the other ones yet, so you can probably deduce which one I would choose as my most likely to be an upset as a 2 seed.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. We'll get to that one in a little bit, though. All right, working our way back. Villanova, Lois, Chicago.
I have Villanova.
I have Nova.
Alexi. All right, Jake, we are ready. The time is set.
Okay.
Colorado State, Tennessee. What's this Tennessee rant?
All right. It's not really a rant. It's, again, it goes back to like Tennessee won the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
They beat Auburn. They beat, not in the SEC tournament, but they beat Auburn. They beat Auburn. They beat Arizona. They beat Kentucky 2 out of 3 times. Also, up and down these metrics that people want to look at are all better than Duke. All of them. Every single one.
Yeah.
And yet Kentucky is a 3 seed. Or Tennessee is a 3 seed.
Yeah.
Behind 2 other SEC teams that they beat. It's like I've seen a lot of people say this. It is probably one of the more egregious seedings that I've seen in a long time. Considering I watched every Tennessee game just like I watched every OSU game this year. Because my brothers go to Tennessee, and so like I've been all in on Tennessee this year, but it didn't make any sense to me how you have the same record as Kentucky. You beat Auburn, but they just didn't get, I guess they didn't get the respect that they deserved throughout the year. I don't know. It really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then they win the SEC tournament. Like, if the SEC tournament doesn't matter, if you're already a team that is going to be in, then I'd sit out. I'd be like, no, I'm not playing. I don't want anybody to get hurt. If your seed's not going to change. They were a 3 seed before the SEC tournament. And if they're a 3 seed before and they win the SEC tournament and are a 3 seed after, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So
yeah, it really doesn't.
There you go. I have Tennessee losing to Gonzaga in my championship. That's
okay. Tennessee's making it. I'll make it a run. You know what I'll say? I mean, Alexi, unless you disagree here, Tennessee over Colorado State, right? A lot of 3-2 matchups so far, but I'm not mad about it.
I go Tennessee.
I'm not mad about it so far.
Yeah, they
all right.
Good.
UAB Chattanooga. I'm willing to take Chattanooga here just because of honestly Jake dropping that knowledge fact here about D'Souza being at Chattanooga. Better player, in the 2 games. But UAB, Alexi, you said they got a 20 PPG score, points per game score.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I think this could be a fun game if it happens. I think UAB and Chattanooga would be really fun. Okay. I don't know who I would lean. That's a tough one.
I'll say it this way. I think if Houston wins, I think I'll work backwards here to work forwards. I'm going to go ahead and take Chattanooga because I think that would be crazier.
Okay.
I think Chattanooga beating Illinois and then making it to to the Sweet 16 is a little crazier than UAB.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. But like, it's like 51% crazier to like UAB 49% crazier, right? Like just barely.
Definitely.
And then Zona TCU. TCU, so sorry. Miss me with that. You're effing. No, that's it. So
You
mad
want
at
to back
TCU?
TCU? Come on, Jamie Dixon.
And that one dude who looks like he's definitely playing defensive tackle for some team that instead is playing basketball for TCU.
Yeah.
Cannot remember his name. I'm so sorry. But like that dude commits 7 fouls every single game against OSU and only 3 of them are called ever. And so TCU missed me with that bullshit. And I'm so sorry I swear. But Zona here.
Yeah.
Over Chattanooga. Tennessee, Villanova. Tennessee. I feel better about Tennessee.
This would be a fun one. This would be a really fun. I think this would be a really fun one. And to go off of, and it doesn't really mean anything, but Villanova did beat Tennessee by 22 earlier in the season. Way early in the season. So totally different team now. How Tennessee is, but I think it'd be a fun game. I think it'd definitely be a lot closer with Tennessee obviously having a chance to win. I would lean Nova, but totally could see Tennessee winning this game.
All of these things here, every single thing of the like ESPN's like 5 things: opponents points per game versus top 25, BPI rank, conference points per game, are within just a point of each other each way. It's so close here. But Tennessee is clearly on the rise. Also, their decision tree rating here is less, so that's what so far means. I think that the majority of people are not picking Tennessee in this, which means I am going to pick Tennessee confidently. I am not with the public. They do not know more than I do.
I also forgot that Tennessee played Villanova at the beginning of the year. The weird thing about them is like they play like a Big 12 team.
Okay.
But also this goes back to me talking about them being a 3 seed. Why are you putting Tennessee as a 3 seed in a bracket with 2 teams that they've already played?
That's so stupid. It really is.
Like, and it's not just 2 teams they've already played. It's the number 1 and the number 2 seeds.
Stupid.
Like, that's not usually things that they do when, you know, we'll get to the Auburn side and we did Kentucky, but it's like I have Tennessee in this game because they already beat them once. And I know that goes against the Villanova logic, but it just kind of, I really like how they're playing right now. And I think a 3 seed probably pisses them off, to be honest.
Yeah, they're going to come in pissed, I think.
That's fair. Now, Arizona, Tennessee. What are we feeling?
I have Tennessee in this one, too.
If it came to this, yeah, I go Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I actually I heard someone bring up a good point. It was probably on Titus and Tate, but they said Arizona's never been there before.
Been where though? Where's there?
The players that they have, the coach that they have as a head coach have never been in this situation before. Whereas, I mean, you have Rick Barnes, you have a lot of older guys at Tennessee. Granted, they play a lot of young guys, but like it would just be very tough for Arizona to hang, because that game at the beginning of the year, Tennessee was up they were up by 20 at halftime or something, and then Arizona came back.
Man, one thing here with Arizona, they've won 31 games. Their only losses on the season are to UCLA, Colorado, and then
Tennessee.
So I'm going to pick Tennessee. I feel like they got the head of steam here. I don't feel the best about it, though. Maybe not follow me. Maybe do more as I think and not as I do here, and don't pick Tennessee. to the general public, but I mean, it's Tennessee right now. All right, KU versus the playing game that's currently happening. Just picking KU. Moving on. We're in the Midwest region for the last corner of the bracket. San Diego State Creighton. This is a home game for San Diego State. San Diego State got so lucky with this matchup. I want to say it's. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's actually in Fort Worth. I thought it was in San Diego.
Can you imagine? They're like, hey, San Diego State, you might be hosting, but you have to go to Fort Worth.
San Diego State's got to be defeated. You tell me I can't even play at home? We're hosting. I can't play anywhere close to home.
I have Creighton in this game anyways. So
Creighton, the McDermott dad, he pulls it out. He's still there, right?
Anyways. Yeah, he is.
Iowa Richmond. I picked a 5. I've picked 1 5-12 upset so far. I've got room for one more, but should I take it here?
Well, it's your last opportunity.
I know. What are you guys thinking? I know Iowa. They won so many. It seemed like buzzer beaters. It seemed like every time I turned on SportsCenter, it was Iowa hitting some crazy shot to win the whole thing or whatever. And I just don't love it when a team does that all the time, to be honest. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I pick Iowa because, I think Richmond is lucky to even be here, and I don't know what that really counts for at this point.
Did Richmond win their conference? No, right?
They won the championship
tournament, yeah.
So they won their tournament. So they're not true at large, but yeah, Iowa. Yeah, Iowa it is.
Murray's a beast too for Iowa. He got first team for first team or something. AP. He's good.
Yeah.
All right.
He's legit.
Providence, South Dakota State.
Jackrabbits.
Yeah, I like South Dakota here. One of the most efficient offensive teams in the nation, and Providence, Calvin, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. One of the luckiest teams this year. They were 1 or 2, and they're probably back to 1. But yeah, I think this is a great matchup for South Dakota State. I love this game. I love South Dakota State here.
You know who went to South Dakota State, guys? You know who their most famous alumni is?
No.
The all-time leader in points for the NFL.
Oh, didn't you say it last? Vinatieri?
Yeah, Adam Vinatieri. So we're going Jackrabbit strong here. Shout out to Pat McAfee for making sure I remember that information. He was shouting it 7 times at College Game Day, and it's ingrained in my brain. All right, LSU, Iowa State. Iowa State, no. There's frauds. I hate it overall. You scored 36
Are they bigger frauds? LSU is the fraud.
LSU is also
when you look up fraud in the dictionary, whether it be in a basketball sense, a football sense, money scandals, fraud. Yeah. They commit fraud.
Except for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I'm riding with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is cool without cool.
Now Will Wade is gone all of a sudden after the season.
How convenient.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
LSU goes, we got it. We got a different coach, right? We like this guy. We want to make sure he stays here. And all the players rally around him. We've seen this happen in the NFL. We see it happen in plenty of other sports. I'm not necessarily trying to bring a ton of NFL talk into this college basketball March Madness bracket pool pick 'em. But I am. And I think there's some camaraderie around LSU. The other thing here is that I've seen Iowa State stink up the whole entire room too many times to really feel good about picking Iowa State ever this year.
These are two teams that could potentially show up and have a football score.
This could be 42. This could be 42-40. This could be that.
Iowa State's offense is just so gross to me. That game they played us, didn't they put up 36 or something?
Yeah.
I don't think they hit 40. And then when they played Tech, it's.
And LSU's offense can also be
Yeah.
They go on major scoring droughts.
Well, so I'm not necessarily trying to sell you guys on LSU, but I'll say with this one other thing. Okay. I'm trying to sell you against Iowa State because Iowa State has the slimmest margin of points per game victory in the tournament. So they have scored 66.5 points per game, and they hold their opponents to 63 points a game. And their points per game is 66.5 when, as as Oklahoma State fans, we know that is crazy because we held them to 36 points in a game. Iowa State, I'm just fading them. Lexi,
Yeah.
you used the fading word earlier. I'm going to try to use your vocabulary a little bit. I'm fading Iowa State here.
Yeah, I think this is honestly a gross game, and it could go either way. Whatever offense shows up, and maybe which one makes the last shot is who's going to win this game, because I don't have confidence in either one, honestly.
The only wild card is Brockington, I guess.
Yeah.
If he's feeling himself, then
if he goes off,
Iowa State would win. Basically, is where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'll say it this way: I can live with LSU losing to Iowa State, but I couldn't live with LSU beating Iowa State and taking it the other way because I just feel so against Iowa State. So I got to pick LSU. Wisconsin versus Colgate.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Dan Katz told me to pick Wisconsin, so I'm picking Wisconsin. All right. USC Miami.
USC. Sorry, Calvin. Don't even like.
It's okay. I'm not picking in the second round here, so it's all right. It's all right. Well, I went to USC's campus. This is the last thing I'm giving USC is this ever. All right, Auburn, Jacksonville State. Jake, I think you had something to say about a 2-15 matchup. Is this the one?
Yeah, you want to talk about God, Auburn's guards suck. What was it? KD Johnson went 0 for 15 in that game. They lost to Texas A&M. Dude, if you don't have it, you don't have it. Stop. You go 0 for 15 and have 0 points in a game that you lose by, what'd they lose by, 6?
Yeah, it was close.
That's egregious to me. You probably shouldn't be taking 15 shots anyways in a college basketball game. 2, to not make a single one, that's problematic. I'm not saying Jacksonville State would win, but I think if there were a 2-15 upset, it would be this one. And I don't know a lick about Jacksonville State, but I know what kind of Auburn team can show up.
Yeah.
And it can be a very, very bad one.
So I'm not for picking an upset when it's a 2-15 matchup and the best player on either team is with the 2 seeded team, and when Jabari Smith Jr., a top 5 draft pick, is also on Auburn's team. The one thing I'll say here is just kind of go off of your point, Jake, and reemphasize it is that I've watched enough Auburn basketball this year and enough highlights or whatever to know that if this game is Auburn down by 2 with 58 seconds left and Jabari Smith Jr. is not the one taking the ball up the court, I think Auburn's going to lose.
Which we've seen before.
And we've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Auburn has lost to teams that they should have killed, they should have beat. But Bruce Pearl should have had Jabari Smith Jr., his best player, taking the ball up the court almost every single possession. But we've seen that guy not get the ball against Miami, not get the ball against A&M. So I don't want to pick USC here in the second round, but it could be close. It could be close.
A quick fun fact about Jacksonville State. Do you guys know how they made it?
No, go for it.
So for you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but for the audience too. So Jacksonville State lost in the semifinals to Jacksonville.
I did see this, yes.
Bellarmine, I think it is.
Yeah.
Played Jacksonville in the conference championship, but Bellarmine could not make the NCAA tournament because they're new to D1 sports, and so they have to sit out 4 years or something.
Stupidest rule in sports.
So stupid. But Bellarmine ended up winning the game, so they beat Jacksonville. So if Jacksonville lost, which they did, Jacksonville State was the first place team in the conference during the regular season, so then they would take over and they would be in the tournament. So they lost a semifinal game and still got in. So yeah, really dumb. I don't know why they're holding a team back for winning their conference tournament. NCAA. What are we surprised about?
So they went D1 2 years ago, right? Or they became D1 2 years ago.
I think
and
so.
they already won their conference. Shouldn't that be rewarded?
Right.
You would think.
That's ridiculous. But that's the NCAA for you. No shock there. Stupid.
All right.
Can't figure out. I mean, the NCAA. Do we need to add anything else?
No.
So, My now goal is to make Alexi laugh or smile at least every comment I make the rest of the podcast. Auburn, USC. Guys, I'm just going to pick Auburn. I can't stand USC and the Trojans.
I picked USC.
I hate you for
actually,
that,
I
but
can
you
go
have
either way.
those Midas SB dunks, and you can tell my whole mom's side of the family why you hate them and why
For
you
the
never
for the
wanna see them
record,
again. It's fine.
it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with everything I aforementionedly mentioned about Auburn.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm big in Auburn here. I'm just overruling it, but I do understand that everything I said about Auburn possibly losing to Jacksonville State could very well be true against USC. So, not feeling great about this. Wait, is the Mobley brother still playing for USC, or is he injured?
Isaiah Mobley, yeah, he's still there.
He's still there. He's not injured. He's healthy.
Yeah, he's playing.
Yeah, he's in.
Anyways, I just got to pick Auburn and move on. I can't do it. All right, LSU, Wisconsin. Is every single matchup 2-3 here? Basically, is that what I'm picking?
Looks like it for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, we just discussed how many reasons we didn't like LSU. I'm not going to necessarily now pick LSU over Wisconsin.
No.
Yeah, I got to pick Auburn, Jake. Damn. All right.
Okay. Pick Wisconsin in this, like I did.
I'm not picking Wisconsin here. You want me to pick Wisconsin here? Anyways,
I picked Wisconsin to beat USC.
I can't do it.
They also have a lottery pick.
All right, tell me more about Wisconsin here. Let's dive in.
I mean, they won the Big 12 or they won the Big 10.
It's pretty good.
That kind of justifies. Johnny Davis is like really, really good.
Yeah, he's good.
They play really, really sound basketball for the majority of the time. It doesn't surprise me that people are picking Auburn. I think people are just looking at the seeds. But if you watch the way that Auburn loses basketball games, it's pretty bad. Like it's pretty bad the way that they're able to lose basketball games. But I mean, if you just look at the records here between USC and Auburn, like one game apart. They're literally or one or two games apart because USC played more games than Auburn did. I mean, I think USC matches up really well with Auburn. If you just let Jabari Smith get his,
you know what? I'm gonna do what I didn't think I'm just gonna do. So I'm gonna pick USC. I'm gonna go back on it. Saturday is when the USC Auburn game is. Just know unless Jacksonville State or Miami win, my stomach will be in a knot that entire game because I'll be like, should I have not picked USC? Should I have picked Auburn? But either way, I'm gonna go bet against my family. But
I'm presenting the case as to how Auburn is really good at losing basketball games.
That's fair. And I didn't go to. It's not like this is OU, right? Yeah. So. Mom's side of the family, we can all handle it.
I was just looking at it because I wanted to be sure it was right. But Auburn has 4 underclassmen who start. So freshmen or sophomores. Just something to throw out there.
They've also lost 3 of their last 6. And for a team that's only lost 5 games this year.
That's a bad trend. All right.
That's a bad trend.
One of them was to Florida, who I think was absolutely garbage.
And that Florida loss was absolutely hilarious, by the way, because they didn't give it to the best player on.
I think that's when we watched, Jake. I don't think.
Yeah, we were.
I'm not.
Calvin
I said Miami earlier.
That was awful. Yeah. So bad.
Yeah.
All right. KU Creighton. KU move on.
Yeah.
Buck moving.
Yep.
Iowa, South Dakota State. Iowa.
I have. I don't know if I picked South Dakota State in this.
Well,
I would like to pick them, but I don't know. Iowa looks pretty good right now. They seem like they're on a roll.
All right.
That's fair.
South Dakota State's good, though.
Iowa. I picked Iowa.
South Dakota State's scary.
Wisconsin, USC Wisconsin, and I can feel better about it.
Yeah.
All right. So Wisconsin versus,
Kansas.
Yeah, a lot of chalk here, but that's not necessarily bad. Last year was chalk all the way to the Basically, this means it's 2 1 seeds playing against each other, so I don't feel bad about that. All right, KU, Wisconsin, Kansas, right?
Yeah.
I go Kansas.
Yeah. All right. All right. So now we're down to the Final Four. We've got Tennessee versus Kansas and Gonzaga versus Kentucky in the Final Four.
This is my Final Four in my bracket.
Well, I can't keep siding with you every single chance I get, but we'll see. Gonzaga, Kentucky. Has Kentucky played a team like Gonzaga this year? Similarly? Similar play styles?
They smoked Kansas at Kansas.
Gonzaga
Yeah,
did?
that was a
No,
blowout.
Kentucky did
I remember that one.
by like a lot. It
Yeah,
was
Kansas
bad.
never had a chance in that game. It
But
says
I
they won by
think
18.
yeah, but I think like as we've talked about the upperclassmen, I think that's where Gonzaga has the advantage.
They've been there. Timmy, and they've been there before last year. So, all right, I'll take Gonzaga there. Tennessee, KU. I want to side KU just because Tennessee's. It seems like they're on an incredible run right now. They win the SEC, all that type of stuff, but the leg has got to fall out from under you at some point, right?
I have Tennessee winning this game just because I've seen both of them play so much. And we all have. We've seen Kansas look not so great sometimes. I haven't seen Tennessee look not so great recently. But I also haven't been same with Baylor. Like I haven't been high on Kansas or Baylor this year, and they're 1 seeds, which I think is probably pretty telling considering I mean, our Final Four isn't anything that's like crazy, but it also is like, well, Kansas is old. Tennessee is also old. They're both old teams. But similar games. What is that stat?
I wish I could tell you.
But no, basically, like, they have someone that can match up with McCormick, who is the absolute just most annoying player in college basketball. Agbaji's obviously good. Agbaji's going to get his. We know that. We know he's going to be probably the best player on the court every time he steps foot on the court. The interesting part is Kansas's guard situation. I know they have Christian Brown, and he's like, I've seen people say that he's going to be a first-round draft pick, which I think would make my head explode. But Tennessee also has the guards that can match up. So I think this one really actually would be a coin flip. And if they did play, it would look like a Big 12 game. It would be like such a grinder of a basketball game. That would probably be abysmal to watch with like 45 free throws, which is also that's one thing that Tennessee is also really good at is drawing free throws. Kansas isn't good at drawing free throws, but they're good at getting the refs to blow the whistle. So,
all right. Well, you know what? I'm going to pick Kansas for basically one reason. The years that I have won my March Madness pool with my grandfather, I picked Kansas. So I'm just going to pick them. Is what it is. As it sounds like either way, I'm not going to necessarily go too wrong. Tennessee, Kansas. So
no, I don't think you would go wrong. And I also don't think either of them could beat Gonzaga. So
Gonzaga is my national champion here. Alexi, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Gonzaga, they're going to be right there if they don't win it. They should make the Final Four. If all goes well for them, they should make the Final Four and most likely the championship. So yeah, I like it. They're coming back from losing last year. Maybe that's some added momentum for them.
For sure. I did the tiebreaker score as 74-70 in Gonzaga, just for craps and giggles, or whatever. But it is what it is.
Well, the interesting thing about Gonzaga, like, because we look at Gonzaga versus another Big 12 team, but this year's Kansas team and last year's Baylor team are nothing alike. Like last year's Baylor team was just so much more physical than everybody else. And last year's Baylor team was also lost like 2 games or whatever. So it's not like, it would be crazy to see Gonzaga win. And I wouldn't be opposed if they won, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be either. So I think that wraps it up though. I think at the end of the day, like could be a better bracket out there. I'm not gonna say mine's the best bracket ever made, but maybe Jake's or Alexi's is. Maybe just a little deviation from mine is better than mine by far. Any other final thoughts here as we kind of end out the NCAA March Madness bracket pick'em?
Matt Olson. That's all I've really got.
I'm just pumped for the tournament. It's going to be back to normal, at least in terms of actually having full attendance and fans and playing in cities, not just Indianapolis in a bubble. So it'll be nice to get that atmosphere and environment back. I'm pumped for it.
Yeah.
The real tournament is back. Also, as Jake just hinted at, anytime the MLB or any other league enters a lockout, we got to do a podcast for like the next day because clearly that's what changes it. And immediately we do a podcast recording about the lockout. When are they going to come back? When are we going to see baseball? Whatever. And then within hours, not days, hours, the lockout was over for MLB. So anyways, with all that being said here, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. Please follow at CGA Tour on Twitter and Instagram for more. And as always, catch you guys again soon.
Later.
See ya.
Peace.